That's not wrestling to me. The more AEW has been doing stuff like that, the more personally I feel like I would rather be associated with WWE than AEW. I mean, I put that with the light bulb matches, the death matches where two people grab each other and jump off the back of a semi truck and land on a pile of light bulbs. That's not my kind of wrestling, and it's something that I personally look at as being lower than the standard, substandard, because it's going to draw only a certain niche crowd that's into that kind of stuff. So
I feel we should all know who this man is. Not only is he on your wrestling Mount Rushmore, but his name will forever be synonymous with the company, the types of matches that we were about to discuss today. Ladies, gents, my fellow peeps. So why don't we listen here? All right. So, this is how we're starting the weekend. This is how our lovely weekend begins. And which I'm pretty sure you already got a mouthful in the beginning from what I just showed you. And yeah, shout out to the GOAT once more when it comes to Rob Van Dam. I mean, y'all might call it glazing or whatever. If you saw my my community post about it, that which is why I really like Rob Van Dam, because yeah, it does seem like, being that, of course, being one of the greats, one of if not, one of the most that has, a lot of influence, that has influenced a lot of the wrestlers that we see today, specifically a John Moxley, that does the kind of spots that he does, like that 2x4 spot that was on Dynamite. And let me know, like, wow, it was even me watching that, to play that back, it was pretty gnarly to see. But once again, shout out to Rob Van Dam, because I like how he does responds to not only people that admire him, the community, wrestling community, all that. So I like how, it just tells me how down to earth and very cool that he is. Unlike it, of course, like I said, the stories and everything, like how we hear about how wrestlers can be a bit of a Priyadama divas sometimes, but Rob Van Dam definitely is that one wrestler I can definitely chill back to back, and just I could tell it's just a wholesome, very down to earth individual. Then I would pick Rob Van Dam any day of the week, absolutely, for sure. All right, to get the glazing out of the way. But even though, wow, it's to the AEW, yeah. And let me just say this: there's a reason why you don't see me review AEW every week. I mean, there's you can already tell that. I mean, I don't really review when it comes to the product, or the weekly shows, even when it comes to WWE. But for damn sure, I feel like it's been 2 or 3 years since when I first started. Because I know I have it like the first channel, like that kind of, but I started all over with here. But damn, I feel like it's been 2 or 3 years, and I remember saying that Tony Khan is just no better. He's no better than Vince McMahon or Triple H or whatever when it comes to being, the head honcho of a company, and something along those lines. And I feel like, this isn't gonna last. People are going to go back. Like, people are gonna see this for the bullshit that it is. And I remember saying that in 2021. I actually have that. Like I said, it's for sure too. I actually have that video too, and that's up on the other channel, about saying that when I had first talked about my first initial thoughts, and when going back and just reflecting, and at first, what what AEW had to offer and going into the future, what it would be like. And like I said, I remember back in 2020, 2021, how people were saying that AEW is the future, and how it was just so the happy-go-lucky place to be, and how such a much more happier and inclusive environment that it was than WWE. You fast forward to 2024, 2025. Completely fucking different storybook we're looking at here. And to not to stray off topic, and yeah, I mean, you got a guy, because I'm pretty sure, like I said, even though he was not mostly known for those spots, you got a guy like Rob Van Dam. Of course, I mean, like I said, his name is still going to be forever associated. Forever, and his name is going to be connected when it comes to, ECW. Guys like when it came to, guys like himself and Sabu and Sandman and Tommy Dreamer, guys just even I believe the Dudley Boys too, that just they also that company itself with being his name before Paul, y'all know him today as Paul Heyman. I knew him back then growing up as a kid as Paul E. Dangerously. That was when when Paul Heyman was coming up and he had the whole company of ECW. And how they just, another company, not only like WCW, but they were just also another company in ECW that was coming up that people was just, they also loved it. It was all very, very popular, I guess you can say, with, the bowling room crowds and the, gym stadium crowds with because of course how raw and unexplicit the content was, but mostly because they did have, of course, the whole the pornographic type of content when it came to the divas, the women, and like of course the swearing and the cursing and shit like that, how raw it was, unfiltered, and just the type of wrestling that they did, which was just completely out of this world. And what I will say that I mean. I was a kid, bro. Like I said, and during those days when you're a kid, pretty much, because I feel like good children, they don't know what they really look at. Like we don't, really, it doesn't really click with you yet as to what you're really, consuming, and your brain is still at a point to where it's, still developing, and you aren't fully aware of your surroundings. So I feel like so for sure. I mean, not to say that's the primary, because I did still at a point to where I feel like I still do. Like when it came to that, which I call I mean, the environmental or just the very violent of those types of matches that involved everything under the sun. When it came to objects and blood and broken backs, bones, and it's just just like I said, I did enjoy when it came to that type of wrestling, but only if it had more so a reasoning behind it. Even thinking about it now, I just feel like I said, I didn't necessarily, even though I had to be a reasoning behind it, and to some extent I did enjoy it, but I just felt like I never held that type of wrestling. Do I feel like I just still had it back in my mind that I didn't really like this type of wrestling? I didn't hold it to that much regard. I always thought of it as lower than that. This was not to be really that taken seriously, being that, and like I said, you had guys that made a career out of it. That's also a part of their personality. Take a look at somebody like a Mick Foley. Even though Cactus Jack, he also did shit like that, because I guess because he also had other veterans in the business that he was inspired by. But here's the thing, a guy like Mick Foley wasn't really known. That wasn't the primary, and it was just another wheel in his repertoire. That wasn't what he, that wasn't, that it didn't become what he was. It was just a part of him. And of course, what people really loved, because he's got to be top, yeah, top 10, top 5, like, because he's really good on the mic. Absolutely, like top 5, even top 3 promo cutters, because yeah, he could cut his ass off on a promo. And it's just like how many characters and how much charisma he just, like, through one thumb that he had more than like barely the all the roster. And he was just, yeah, he was just so entertaining to watch. And I always liked watching, always fucking loved watching Mick Foley because of how entertaining and how charismatic he was. And it wasn't because of his the death-defying bullshit and those matches that you see with Moxley, to this day. That it wasn't for that. Like, it was for the simple fact that the type of the stories that he told, like his characters, how much he engaged, like, it was all about that. And that's why people remember, and that's why he was loved, even though he did, like I say, like, of course, like the whole thing with the moment with Taker and Hell in a Cell, even though that's a moment, and that's what would be remembered as the, of course, like I said, being that what type of match it was and the types of matches that it inspired. Like I said, even though, like, yeah, he was still off the breath of his own, whether it came to him as not just the wrestler, but as because of what he could have provided as entertainment. And yeah, like, I feel like that's absolutely, I couldn't agree more with Rob Van Dam, because I say, even though you had with ECW, of course, even more so being that how much of other companies were, I said the industry got even though you can see today where not just the high spots, but let's say you even have some like Darby Allin, but you even let's say you have wrestlers that do shit that I said, this is why I said, like, I never really thought of as high as a regard, and I always looked down when it came to ECW, because I say, even though, because that type of wrestling can translate to, it can just add to the entertainment that you're enjoying, it can add to the storytelling and everything above around it. It shouldn't be used, it shouldn't be a primary thing. It shouldn't be what a thing that's mainly focused when going into, because I say, yeah, I mean, just look at what we have today. It ended up of not only just when we talk about the fucking the types of the shit when we talk about with indie wrestling and the whole thing with AEW, it's just, yeah, like those types of course, which I don't feel like it's that. I don't know. It's probably still, but it's not still like these, because I don't really see. You don't really see it everywhere when it comes to, especially when it comes to the WWE. But I guess you will see it in the AEW, because John Moxley literally does it every other week. I feel like, as far as the larger, because it is still done on a larger scale when we talk about, as we're talking about right now, with somebody like a John Moxley. But yeah, like, that is why I have the feelings to where I have feelings with. And like I said, just like what pretty much what I'm saying, with just like what Rob Van Dam just said. I mean, it's only gonna that type of nonsense of wrestling is only gonna draw a certain level of people. And it does. AEW, compared to when they first started, and I wouldn't even call it a peak. Compared to what they first started, I mean, they like, the viewership just gets worse, even their attendance numbers and everything around them. It just continues to get worse and worse because of the shit that the embarrassment that they continue to behold on themselves. And this is just one of the many reasons why I look at AEW and just like, yeah, fuck that. I refuse. Like, I'm not wasting my time. like that whole shit to John Moxley with the whole 2x4 spot bleeding in the back and everything, like that should tell you right there. Exactly, should tell you right there. And it's just why professional wrestling is in a state to where it's in right now, and why it's mocked. and why it's a joke, even more so considered a joke in current times. And people, they just put this shit over. Like I said, you even have veterans that put this shit over because they want to be a part of. They want to be a part of a clique. They want to, they want to suck cock, and they want to give recognition because they want to also play. They also want to be cool with the kids and still hip it down with the kids, so that because they want those kids to who also looked up to them, that's now wrestlers today, to continue to ride their jock, and while also penny licking off the, like, it makes me sick, for real, it makes me sick, because not only it's like every aspect. You have, like I said, you have motherfuckers that co-sign this shit, and it's really, really ridiculous. So, all the appreciation in the world to, like I said, to Rob Van Dam for calling out this shit, being that however, his name, like I said, because you even have someone like him, where he don't even want to be associated. He'd rather be associated with WWE, even though, like I said, that's not even entirely how he came up. I mean, he's his name. You have a guy like Rob Van Dam that came up with ECW, that was known for that type of matches, for that type of genre of matches, and he doesn't want to be associated. So how? Because it's that fucking bad. When AEW and guys like John Moxley that mock it, that made that has the whole world, the other half of the world, the majority of the whole world, that look down, that if they already didn't know to begin with, and they continue to laugh at it, because this is a disgrace. Like, that shit, it was what it was, but it's not professional wrestling. It's just not. And the people that, like I said, that still berate me and whoever, because like I said, being that a fanboy, but they also want to participate in this make believe and pretend to also, while also being a cuckold or a groupie to a company like AEW, because they also get false validation from them. They want Tony Khan to recognize who they are, because that's potentially the only type of attention that they didn't get it from their parents. They don't get it from anybody else. They think and they desperately wanted to get it from Tony Khan and guys that do this, that mock this shit. It's a disgrace, for real. It's really a disgrace. And like I said, shout out to, once again, for somebody like a legend like Rob Van Dam to call this shit out and be as based as he fucking is. Like, for real, that shit is based right here. Because like this, like I said, that shit that happened with Moxley, it just continues to harm. It damages, and it makes the industry already looked at, if it already didn't. It's been looked at for years, for millenniums, and they continue to mock it.